In most schools, the head teacher will generally be responsible for ongoing compliance with fire safety legislation and for fire safety management in the school. The regulatory reform, Fire Safety Order 2005 in England and Wales, and equivalent legislation in Scotland and Northern Ireland introduced the requirement for each organisation to appoint a responsible person or duty holder to oversee fire safety. The responsible person must ensure that a fire risk assessment is conducted and recorded, that identified actions are implemented, and staff are adequately trained. If the responsible person isn't able to conduct a risk assessment themselves, they may appoint someone to do it for them. However, they must appoint someone competent in fire safety matters to assist them in implementing the outcomes of an assessment and managing ongoing fire safety issues. This person should preferably be based at the school. So, what is a fire risk assessment? The aim of a risk assessment is to identify potential fire safety problems, decide how serious any problems found might be, and do something sensible about them. Where possible, this should eliminate the problem or at least alter it enough to significantly reduce any risk. This can usually be achieved by providing an appropriate mix of physical fire precautions and suitable management processes. There are a number of recommended methods for conducting a fire risk assessment. The FPA generally recommends a 7-step approach. These are: Step 1. Identify all fire hazards. Step 2. Identify people at risk. Step 3. Eliminate, control, or avoid the fire hazard. Step 4. Consider whether existing safety provisions are adequate. Step 5. Record the findings. Step 6. Prepare an emergency plan. Step 7. Carry out a periodic review. Let's take a quick look at how the 7 steps of the fire risk assessment might relate to your school. Schools contain a vast array of combustible materials, from paper and cardboard through to stage cloth and gym mats. Flammable substances can range from solvents and oils to flammable gases. Step 1 is identifying and recording sources of ignition and fuel within the school. As well as pupils and staff, others that may be at risk from fire in a school include contractors working on the site or other visitors who may not be familiar with its layout. Special consideration will also be needed for anyone with impaired sight, hearing, or mobility. Once hazards have been identified, steps need to be taken to eliminate, control, or avoid them. Wherever possible, materials that present a high risk should be replaced. For instance, solvent-based glues and paints could be replaced with water-based alternatives. If a material cannot be eliminated, then make sure that procedures are put in place to minimize the risk it represents. An evaluation of the risk of fire should then be made, identifying areas of high, normal, or low risk. Existing fire safety precautions should also be assessed to check whether they are adequate or in need of improvement. This should include considering fire alarm and detection systems, firefighting equipment, emergency lighting and signage, as well as fire doors, fire stopping, and the construction of the building. All schools should have a fire alarm with call points. Some schools may require automatic fire detection that provides an early warning to allow the maximum time for escape. A suitable number of appropriate fire extinguishers should be in place, principally in case they are needed to assist people to escape. An increasing number of schools have sprinkler systems which automatically release water to control a fire. Sprinklers are a reliable and safe way to tackle fires, helping to save lives, save money, and minimize the disruption from fire. All fire exit routes should be clearly signed. Automatic emergency lighting that operates if the power fails should illuminate signs, escape routes, and fire exits. Buildings are separated into fire compartments to prevent the spread of fire. Any holes or gaps in the construction between these compartments should be sealed to prevent smoke spreading into the next area. Fire doors are designed to contain fire and smoke, so they should be a good fit and should normally be kept shut, unless they are fitted with an automatic release mechanism that operates when the fire alarm sounds. Fire safety provisions must be checked regularly and maintained by a competent person, such as a third-party accredited contractor, to ensure that they remain in good working order. The end user should also undertake more frequent regular checks of the system and equipment. For example, the alarm system should be tested on a weekly basis, with different call points being tested in rotation. Records should be kept of these checks. False alarms must also be investigated in full, recorded, and steps taken to ensure they don't happen again. All findings from the risk assessment must be recorded and should include any significant fire hazards found, details of any staff, pupils or others who are especially at risk, actions taken to lower the risk, and an overall assessment of the risk. Actions which need to be taken to reduce the risk, along with any training needs and changes in process or emergency response, should be recorded. An action plan should also be implemented to ensure that any required changes do take place within a reasonable timescale. This action plan must ensure that all staff are made aware of any findings from the risk assessment and any actions being taken. The next step is to prepare a fire emergency plan, the primary purpose of which is to ensure that staff, pupils and visitors know what to do if there is a fire and can evacuate the school premises safely. Remember, people who are especially at risk may require their own individual personal emergency evacuation plan. This also applies to anyone who may have a temporary disability, for example, a broken leg. The review step is crucial in maintaining fire safety. Every assessment should be reviewed at least annually, if only to confirm there has been no change in circumstances. Where and how often reviews take place may depend on the tasks undertaken and the environment. Obvious changes like the change of use of an area within a school, the introduction of new materials or equipment, building alterations and extensions are automatic triggers for reassessments. Less obvious changes may be those brought about by experienced staff retiring or aging equipment requiring higher levels of maintenance. Reviewing and recording results should be a continuous process that ensures your fire emergency plan and fire risk assessment is always up to date. The responsible person's duties include making certain that all staff receive appropriate fire training when they commence work at the school and periodic refresher training thereafter. The training does not need to be complicated, but should communicate the findings of the risk assessment, explain the emergency procedures, and explain any additional duties and responsibilities of staff. For example, those people sweeping the building during an evacuation to ensure that it is clear. Any training should also identify the location of escape routes, fire alarm call points, and firefighting equipment. A record must be kept of who attended the training and when it was carried out. All staff must know what to do if they discover a fire or hear a fire alarm. They should understand the evacuation procedures, including what to do at the assembly point and the importance of the roll call. Training will also include regular fire drills that will usually be performed each term. All staff, students and visitors, including any disabled people, must take part in these. All drills and any lessons learned should also be logged. If hazards are identified during a drill, the existing fire safety provisions should be reviewed and any necessary improvements implemented within a set timescale. Nominated fire wardens and any staff with a particular role to play in an emergency, such as kitchen staff, should receive any additional training that may be required to ensure they can perform their duties effectively and safely.